Hey yo, and up she rises, hey yo, and up she rises, hey yo, and up she rises early in the morning. Oh, yeah. That's what I said. Yeah. Hey, little baby girl. And hello. I'm not sure who else is watching with me right now. Aha! Oh, yes. See, there's two purposes for a sea shanty. One, keeping a rhythm for heavy, hard work. And the other, keeping up morale. Now, what you do with a drunken sailor is all about revenge fantasies on those co-workers that really get your coat. And hello, Kim! I have a piece of hair that's poking into my eye. Alright, anyway, so as I have mentioned, tonight is, or this afternoon is, obviously, you know, as the title up here says, or down here, yeah, down here, Sailing Away. See, it seems that my patron that I'm sculpting for today wants something a little bit nautical. Nautical. And so that's what we're going to be providing. And now, William, before we get in, I've got to ask a couple questions real quick about the sailor you want. You want him... Oh. Hello, Carlton. Yep, 2 today, but the second one's going to start at 8. Anyway, first, will he be holding a cutlass, or a belaying pin, or no weapon, or something else? Yeah. Cutlass. Excellent. Yes. Carlton? Hey, little buddy. Oh, yes. I should mention all of my cats are utterly feral. They're so uncontrollable and wild, and they don't like people at all. No, they don't. Yeah. Oh. It's not so much how I hold on to him, it's how I get him to let go of me. That little fuzz butt. There you go. Anyway. Also, will he be a basic deckhand? Will he be an officer? Will he be the captain? And will he be pirate or naval sailor? Basic piratey type. But will he be a pirate or a captain? Huh? Oh, so you're basic pirate. Okay, so now the problem with most of your deck pirates, a lot of them don't have boots or shoes. And a lot of them wear the bandana on their head instead of having hair. So do you want that look? With the bare feet and the raggedy pants and the bandana around the head, and maybe a vest instead of a shirt, with some thick wristbands and a whippity cutlass. Why, that we get then. And what the heck is this? Means nothing to me. Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with my usual special effect of brrr, and we're here. Now, as you can see, this is my basic human figure. I'm going to give a little spiel at the start of all this because I had someone ask me a couple questions, and I gotta not do the pirate voice this whole time. I'll ruin my vocal cords. If you're in here, let me see. Are you in here? Well, I got 6 people watching. He might be in here. What I basically do, I made a base human figure, as you can see here, and I created morphs to turn them to everything from a deep one, and yes, a little bit of deep one, and you get the folk from Innsmouth, dwarf, hobgoblin, reptilian 1, 2, and 3, turtle, the whole 9 yards. But seeing this is a basic sailor, he'll probably just be a basic human. So we're going to go ahead and close his mouth a little. That's a bit too much. And now, actually, hold on just a second. Okay, sorry about that. Long story. Hello, good game hunters. Anyway, like I said, I created my own mesh, gave it blend shapes, and rigged it. And this is what I sculpt 99% of what I do on. Well, this or the female equivalent that I made. Now, what we need to do is we need to come up with a pose. So, do you have any ideas what kind of pose you want him in? Oh, wrong. That's the one I want. Just standing around in kind of a guard or like, yay! Okay. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go to some of my sample poses just to find something to start from. And we're going to start from let's say this, but we're gonna tone down the upper torso quite a lot by selecting everything from the neck down to the finger. I go over here to parameters and I click on all up here, and then I'm just going to turn all of these to 0, the jaw to -5. Alright, that's just to give us a nice good solid torso and hip area. Now, I'm coming over here to the content library and to my props, and we got to give him a cutlass. So, cutlass right hand. There we go. A cutlass. Yay! So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start working on twisting this arm. What? Twisting, but posing. And by doing so, getting him ready to be our good old pirate. Just going to have that out and ready. Then we're going to side to side the neck and bend it back a little. Now for this arm, we're going to do a different tactic. We're going to just select the hand, and we're going to bend it a bit like that, and take this, and we're going to take away the side to side, because elbows don't bend side to side, and that causes problems. Instead, you twist it at the upper arm. And then we're going to twist this forearm a little. And do I have a fist with the right hand, left hand? Left fist. Okay. And that is our basic, well, you got to twist the head a little and kind of make sure that he's looking at wherever he's threatening with that cutlass. And we're going to grab this hand and we're going to bend it at the wrist just a little. And this is what we're going to turn into our pirate. Let's go ahead and make him yelling, because yeah, it probably looks better if he's shouting. So how does that look for a pose there? Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the cutlass. We're going to export him out. And this goes to new new Patreon minis. And this is going to be sailor body. Accept. Hide him. Make the cutlass visible. File. Export. Sailor cutlass. And now that I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and place the base now. What we're going to do is it's obviously going to be wooden planks. So import bases. Base planks. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of a random rotation. No, okay. We're going to a front view, and we need to bring it down so that his feet are ever so slightly poking into the mesh, just to make it fuse into a solid one pretty easily. And then we go to the right view, and we need to bring them forward a bit. And actually we need to then take this and go about there. There we go. That should be good. Hey-oh, and up she rises, hey-oh, and up she rises, hey-oh, and up she rises early in the morning. Now we're going to export this as sailor base. Alrighty. Oh, wrong thing. That's what I wanted. And I need to bring it down a bit so I can fill the whole thing. There we go. Yay. Haha. Hello, Jacob. Oh, documents new. Dag, now but I hate it when I do that. Okay, import. And we go to Patreon minis, new, sailor body. This has nothing to do with Sailor Moon or any of those types. Gonna append a subtool for the cutlass. And we're gonna append a subtool for the base. So right now this is our basic guy. We're going to hide the base and the cutlass. And we're going to start doing some tweaking on this guy in this form. For example, we're going to use inflate. Yes, inflate on the buttocks, so we can fuse them to end up looking like the seat of... I forgot to plug them in again. So we can make it look like the seat of pants and not, you know, buttocks. Which I guess is better than Botox, especially for that day and age, because back then you only got Botox if you had botulism. By fusing them, inflating them a bit and fusing them on the inside, they'll turn into a more solid. I also need to go ahead and kind of, yeah. Okay, and then we're gonna smooth this area, but not the chest, because he might be wearing a vest. And now we're going to inflate here, again for similar reasons, because of the way that certain muscles fuse into the body. Okay, now let's frame out, and we're going to subdivide and then dynamesh it. Subdivide it until it's kind of smooth, and then we're going to dynamesh at 768 with a blur of 0. This should give us right around 600,000 quads. Oh, 600,000 points. Yeah, 516,000 quads. Okay, so we turn that off, and we're going to subdivide again and delete lower. Now, do you want him to have a vest or a shirt? While you're debating, I'm going to go ahead and clean up this part of the arm. You subdivide before you dynamesh, because if you don't, well, let me go ahead and show you. Alright, there we go. That's before I dynameshed. Before I subdivided or dynameshed. If I dynamesh here, let's look at the hand here, because it'll be our best example. I now hit dynamesh. And instead of smoothing it all out, it makes it even harsher by turning each of these polygons into about 4 by 8, about 32 polygons. Meaning it will be jagged like that forever. So that's a no-go. We subdivide it to get it smooth, so that when we dynamesh it, oh, that was a mistake too. So that when we hit dynamesh, it stays smooth. Alright, so now what we're going to do, turn off dynamesh, I'm going to smooth out the lower part of the chest here and this part of the chest, because we're going to be having a vest to be making. And we're also going to go ahead and smooth that out, and this, and that. Obviously there's a problem there, so we're going to inflate it a little bit more above and beside and below, just to make it more There's a small hole there, but we'll deal with that when it comes time to do another Dynamesh. Also, I need to fix that. Yeah. Let's shrink the mouse, and we're gonna smooth over it. And then, just to make sure it's smooth. The first thing we're gonna make, like I said, is the vest. So we're gonna, actually let's zoom out a bit. We're gonna shrink the mouse. I'm gonna hit Control and shift the focal shift to 0. You notice that the mouse is now yellow, and we use this. There we go. And then come from under here. So, what would you do with a drunken sailor? Put it in the chat. You know, because there's always some interesting new verses for what would you do with a drunken sailor. Put him in a bed with the captain's daughter. Put him in a bed with the captain's daughter. Let him get flogged for the captain's daughter early in the morning. Morning. My singing voice is horrible. Make him clean the head with a tiny toothbrush. Make him clean the head with a tiny toothbrush. Make him clean the head. Need toothbrush early in the morning. Yeah. Now, the thing is, we have rounded edges on this vest. We don't want that. We have to Control and Alt, and we unmask. Give us a nice corner there. And I do the same thing over here. And now we're going to extract it at 0.02, extract, accept, draw to unmask, and now if we went back here it's still masked, so we undo that, and now we have our vest. Now this is already smooth, so we're just going to go straight to subdividing it. We'll make it 256. And the next thing we got to do is we're going to use the move tool, because this needs to be a little bit baggy without being too outrageously loose. Actually, let's make it move topological. Gonna pull it out. Then we're going to shrink it down again and pull it in here. Pull this out. Pull it out down here. We're also going to do the same thing up here to even out where this part of the chest is. And then shrink it a little bit, and we're going to smooth out some of these areas because we're going to be giving it its texture. Actually, there we go. Okay. And then we're going to do it on the back too, because we don't want it to have all that much definition of muscle in the back. Now that we got it the basic shape in, we're going to subdivide it a couple times until it's right around here, right around 300,000. We're going to delete between 200 and 500,000 basically. And now we're going to zoom in, and we're going to use the layer brush followed by the inflate brush to make, not tool, stroke. Anyway, to make buttons. We've got to turn off the lazy mouse and shrink the size. And that layer is not strong enough, so we're going to need to increase the layer to probably about 45. And it's going to be, nope, still not big enough. Let's bring it up to 65. That'll be good, because we're going to be making it bigger with the inflate tool. Okay. Now, inflate. And there's our buttons. Now we're going to use the orb crack brush. Turn off that. Increase the intensity a little. We're going to draw in. Let's make it a little bit bigger just to make it a little bit easier to see. We're going to draw in our buttonholes. Alright, that was... yeah. There we go. That's our buttonholes for the vest. We're going to get for some more detail on that later. Now we're going to go back to the Move topological tool, and we're going to make it a little raggedy. Now how are we going to do that? Basically by just kind of grabbing and pulling. And just kind of creating a jagged edge to this sucker. Occasionally making a little bit bigger for a larger, and a little bit smaller for a smaller couple. And just basically come on here and make it all jaggedy. And once we've done this, we're going to go ahead and add in some... we're going to wait on the actual holes in the vest until after we've done the wrinkles and all that later on in the show. Okay. It used to be a jacket, but he tore the sleeves off of it. Now here, like I said, do any of y'all have any idea what you're going to do with the Drunken Sailor? Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and hide that, and we're going to draw on the tops and bottoms of the pants. So we're going to draw on up here. Let's make sure. Okay, that's too high. Because we need a gap underneath them. It's going to be about that high. And this is where we're going to be blending it all into the sailor. To make the not jeans, but make the pants appear to be actual pants and not just a seam on the leg. And then down here, we're going to just draw on about that much. And we're going to do something similar here. Whoop, maybe a little bit lower. And then we're going to extract them at 0.2. Draw. Draw. And then we come back up to here. Geometry and Dynamesh 128. Now, I'm going to make the mouse a good bit bigger and make the intensity of our smooth a good bit smaller. And we're just going to sit here and smooth down this part of the pants. I need to make it a little bit bigger than that. Yeah. There we go. This way it will blend into the figure in just a few minutes when we go to Dynamesh him. Now when it comes time for his belt, I'm going to teach y'all a new tactic. It's called Insert Multi-Mesh Brush. And get those in there. There we go. Frame out. And now in Subtool, no, not Subtool yet, we're going to first subdivide it a couple times till it's around there, yeah. And we're going to merge down. Always okay. The reason we did that is so that now we go to Geometry, Dynamesh again, zoom in, shrink the mouse, and start smoothing in where it meets with the legs. Let's do it a couple times. Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to do it down here. Okay, now on the lower leg. Oh, come on, what's taking so long? There we go. And then down here. And going back, we still have move, so we're going to go ahead and do something similar with the bottom of the legs. represent them being all torn and ragged. You never did answer my question, guys. What would you do with a drunken sailor? Just call him an Uber? Oh, come on. You gotta do things like, you know... you gotta come up with, you know, ridiculous punishments that you would do for a drunken sailor in the morning. Early in the morning. Pour out the rum and blame the sailor. Pour out the rum and blame the sailor. Pour out the rum and blame the sailor early in the morning. You know, like making everyone on board ship think that he's the reason that the rum ration is gone. But where is the rum gone? Okay. Basic clothing is done. That's just how it looks. So now, what's this? Oh, okay. Now we are going to do the... I'm going to hide the hands and arms on both sides. The reason for this is that I have easy access to the waist. There we go. Now, do I have it? IMM? Nope, I don't. So what I do is I go to Load Brush, C, Program Files, Pixel Logic, 2018, ZBrushes, insert IMM, Rope Brush. Here we go. Open. Now, what we do, make sure that this is the right size by just drawing idly. We draw on a curve, and it becomes rope. That's a little too small. So, we're going to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to start at the front of the waist. Let's draw our curve on here. Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Come around that way. And to there. And that's a rope. Oh, I better not do that. I better go to Subtool and split unmasked parts. And so now our belt is a rope. We can move it a bit to kind of tweak its position on the pants, like right here. We're going to move it down like that to make sure that the pants, upper part of the pants, is clearly visible. And then we go under to make sure that, yeah, it's making contact with the whole thing. Now what we got to do is we got to add a knot right here. But before we add a knot, there it is. Going back up to here. We're gonna there we go. I'm just going to draw on way too big. Okay, shrink this. What? Oh, I know what it is. Nope, still too big. Okay. No. We need to hide the belt. There we go. And we're now going to split masked parts. And we're going to hide both that. And we're just simply going to draw on from up here. One. Split unmasked parts, and then 2. And now they're going back to the move. Actually, we're going to make this straight up move. And we go to this one, and we see we need to kind of pull that back a bit. So pulling them in like that. We're going to make that and that visible. Not the... And selecting on this, we're going to pull this. Oh, make it smaller. Pull this out to here. No, because that screwed it up. Okay. Pull it out to there. And then I'm going to take this and pull it back a bit. And there we go. We have our knotted rope belt. Now, next thing we got to do before we do any further sculpting on him, I'm going to make his toes. I'm going to make the base visible so we can see where his toes are going to be. So, what we're going to do, smooth out the feet tips. And 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Smooth out the feet tips. And 1, 2, 3. Then, since this foot is coming off the base, we also need to round it off considerably. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Now, slash time. Slash, making our new toes. Go back up to stroke and turn off lazy mouse. I'm going to start with the big toe. Oh, way too big and way too deep. Nope. It doesn't look right, does it? Well, that's because we're going to go ahead and inflate the toes. And this is going to have to go back over and re-smooth. Okay. And yeah, that's going to look good once we've gotten him smoothed out, because that's going to have to happen later. So now we go back to our slash tool. And we pretty much going to make sure that we make a big enough for the big toe, and then your other 4 toes. Let's go ahead and hide the base again. Pull under for this assist. Now we go back to inflate. And inflate out the pinky toe. And we're going to smooth it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inflate out the next toe. And then the next toe. And then the next toe. And then we thicken out the tip of the big toe. And smooth it. Then we're going to draw on those tendons on the foot. It's kind of like doing what we do with the hands. Frame out. And on first glance, until we get this cleaned up, that doesn't look too bad for bare feet. Now, let's see, another thing we got to do. Bracers. Probably wear some kind of bracers, especially in a fantasy world, but they're probably more like thick, short bracelets. You know, kind of like that. And like really thick leather. You know, less for actual fighting armor and more for, like, you know, something to make sure that if a rope slides against your wrist, it's not going to give you rope burn. So we're going to extract these out at 0.035. Extract, accept. And then draw. Go back to geometry, and we're going to dynamesh it at 256. We want to have a bit of a sharper edge than the cloth we've done before. We're also going to smooth out right in here. There we go. And we're going to subdivide it a couple times. Now, you want the bandana, right? Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to mask off the top part of the head. Actually, let's go ahead and do it this way. No, I need to bring him like that. Bring him forward a bit. There we go. And bing. Make sure I didn't get any on the ear. Good. This is going to be at a 0.02. Extract. Accept. Draw. Now we're going to hide it. And we're going to draw on a sphere. Well, not sphere. 0.035. Extract. Accept. Because that's where our knot is going to be. And this is actually going to be dynameshed at 64. And we're going to inflate it and then shrink it. We're going to shrink it the old-fashioned way. Okay. Then we're going to select the actual top here. We're going to dynamesh it at 128 and subdivide it a couple times so that we can draw in wrinkles later. And back on our knot, I'm going to grab what's called a snake hook. I'm going to make it about that wide. And we're going to draw down what will be the bottom of the knot. Now we're going to go back to slash. Let's go to move first. We're going to move this in on the sides a little bit bigger and pull out here. And pull out here. What we're going to do, we're going to slash, shrink it, but keep it this deep. I'm going to draw a deep cut there, and a deep cut but slightly angled here. And then just kind of draw on a couple more cuts. Then we're going to make it really narrow, really shallow but larger, and go down there. Then we're going to take inflate, and we're going to inflate the ends. The reason being is, well, that's a bit too much. The reason we're inflating the ends, what's that? Oh. We want to make it easier to print, and we want to give it kind of like that almost football teardrop shape that they've got. Okay. Now we've pretty much got all of the geo done. Now it's time to start adding in the wrinkles and the details. So we're going to start with the, the headband or the head rush. Now what we're going to do here is first we're going to use cut, or not cut, but slash. I'm going to shrink it a little bit, make it go really deep again, and we're going to draw on basically the bottom rim. Nope, needs to be bigger. Okay, now we're going to add in the wrinkles. So we're going to do that by reducing this to about 9, add, and we're going to just draw on sharp areas where there would be like wrinkles and things like that. And then we just kind of sit here and just make lines. And we'll go back to sub, and we're going to draw in a couple underneath these wrinkles just to tighten them up and to continue that whole this is cloth feeling. Also to exaggerate the distance between these wrinkles. If you go watch videos about how to paint miniatures, you'll see a lot of times they tell you to exaggerate and punch out the shading and highlighting. You got to do the same thing with wrinkles, but you just can't be quite as dramatic about it as you can with shading and highlighting. Okay. That's that. Let's go ahead and merge this down. Okay. The wristbands. Is there anything you want in those wristbands? Like studs or a little rune on the back, any a seam, anything like that. Okay, well then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to give him a seam on the inside of each of these. And so we're going to shrink that. Just going to draw on, whoop. Well, draw that on and erase there and there. And then come on here. We're going to draw them here and erase there. There. And we're going to extract it at 0.01. Because this is just a surface detail, it's not going to be the rest of it. Then we're going to take slash, no, we're going to take orb crack. The difference between orb crack and slash, when you use slash, it pulls the mesh into that slash. And it also rounds off the top edge. When you use orb cracks, it just kind of makes a depression that happens to be sharp edged both on the top seam and in center. So we're going to use orb cracks and there we go. Nope. But we know where it's going to be. So we're going to hide them. No, we're not going to hide them. We're going to use transparency because we want to see where they are. And whoa. Okay, and here. No. There we go. And there we go for that. We have our little way that they come on and off. So we're going to merge down with that. Now the ropes, we're going to go ahead and merge them all down. They don't really need much else. We're going to hide them. And going to the vest. Now one of the first things that we're doing in the vest is we got to make our basic shape, flow shapes. We're going to use this. And we're just going to kind of draw in and kind of come over it opposite. And we're going to smooth out these things just a little. And we go over to slash, add, and that should be good. I'm just going to kind of draw on the top, draw a couple other extra ones. And come in like that, and come around like that. And then one up here. Then we're going to finally go to subtract. We're going to kind of just draw in some of these under wrinkles, just again to deepen them, give it a little bit of exaggeration without being too much. And we draw across, draw down here, draw in here, and otherwise around these wrinkles. And of course, if you're not sure where to put the wrinkles, find a fix-it. Okay. Now, we're going to do something else while we're here. No, we're not. We're going to put a pause on that. No, we're going to use layers, so it doesn't matter. Subtract. We're going to change this to drag rectangle, and we're going to change the alpha. With this alpha, we're going to use one that I made earlier in the week. The sole purpose of replicating torn clothing, holes in clothing. We're going to start with kind of just a raggedy one. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it kind of near the bottom. Okay, that's too deep. No, we need to make it kind of in the center here where there is no. Yeah, that's one of them. And we're going to change them up just so that we can have something different every time. This one's going to be right here. And we're going to make it so that... Oh, no, we need to flip it. Flip it horizontally. And because we want to make it so that it follows the tear there, or the wrinkle there. Just a couple, and then we're probably going to get one up on the shoulder. So we're going to get yet another one. And let's make it this one. And we're going to put it right like that. Just a little bit of torn to give it some effect when it comes time to paint. Now we go down to the pants. Or go up to the pants technically. Because the pants are part of the body now. Go into our standard brush, shrink it, and increase it. Let's turn off lazy mouse and decrease that to about 11, yeah. And we're going to draw on, well, if I use the correct side of the stylus, we're going to draw on this kind of like that. A little starburst around the crotch area. And smooth out the ends of some of these. Right in here. Also going to come in from the bottom, literally. Smooth out the ends of these. And then we're going to kind of just get some horizontal ones here. Now that we got that, we're going back to our slash tool, going back to add, and we're going to shrink it by one step, and I'm going to draw on these wrinkles, including some that don't quite meet where the larger wrinkles are. And make ones over here. Once again, we're going back to subtract. We're going to make it a little bit deeper and kind of just nudge under the center of some of these wrinkles, or in this case, where they all meet. And it's looking like it's gonna be pretty easy for this one. Then we're just gonna try to draw on a couple deeper wrinkles on the back of the leg. This is something that might not come out on the print if it's printed from a FDM printer, but it'll still be enough to give an impression that it's there. I know that sounds paradoxical, but it does. And now we're going to change the alpha again. We're going to make it this one, and we're going to put it on this knee, because this knee is slightly, that pants leg is slightly longer than the other. And on this one, we're not going to add in a brain fry, an alpha. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to have a patch sewn on, rather erratically shaped. And what we're going to do this is we're going to mask off that area, fill it in, and then we're going to cut off the end here. And the end here. And we're going to extract it at a 0.01. Draw. And draw. Then we're going to take the orb cracks brush, and we're going to switch it so that we're actually drawing out. I'm going to use this to draw on the stitching, or at least the basics of the stitching. kind of the crude, like a sailor or an orc would do. We're going to now transparent it, and we're going to inflate them. Okay. What in the... Okay, I see something else we gotta do. Yay! We've gotta make this a lot smoother and basically get rid of it. And then go back in with the slash tool and draw in those rear, because we went to put that in. Just give it a very tip of that. That reminds me, we need to go back to the vest and just kind of very lightly just hit it a couple times with the smooth brush. And I mean literally hit it with the smooth brush. Just kind of tap with a very faint downward angle. Okay, now we frame out. Let's make everything visible real quick. And we can already see that the only thing we really need to do anything to now is the cutlass, which starts off with a subdivision to smooth it out. Then it'll be time to do the hands, and oh, we got to fill in the mouth too, but that we can do. Okay, now as for the cutlass, since these are going to be piratey guys, they need piratey cutlass. So we're going to make the handguard have kind of a skull deco on it. So go back to inflate, and we shrink it down, increase the intensity. We're going to start off with eye sockets. Then we're going to bring this in. And smooth it out. And then smooth out the underside of this. And then we're going to just kind of inflate here. Notice that we're giving it a lot more volume than we really need, and then going back in and hitting it with the smooth brush. Then we're going to go ahead and do a smoothing here. We're going to grab the move brush and grab down here and move it up and then in like that. Then we get the slash brush. First thing that we're doing is we're going to outline this sucker. Actually, no, we need to do it with the Orbs Crack brush. Actually, no, before we do any of this, we need to redynamesh it. And then subdivide it. And we can go ahead and like smooth out the forehead and start doing things like drawing that. And basically draw detail around our skull. And includes the eyes. And the nose. Then we're going to go with the slash tool and shrink it down a little and increase the depth. And we're going to draw that on. This is going to be something that's, again, it's going to be difficult to see with FDM, but it'll be enough that the impression will be there. And there we go. We got our piratey guy with a cutlass. Now to do the hands, and we're pretty much done. Well, the hands and the inner mouth. Okay, so to do the inner mouth, all I got to do is put the mouse in the center and hit smooth, and it'll pull out that big old gap in the inner mouth until it's very nearly flat, as you can see. Okay. Now the hands. So this left hand, what we need to do before we do anything else is we need to inflate the fingers on the inside of the hand. Basically, we want it to be mostly solid, but it'll appear like the hand's open mostly, but it's actually solid. Now, I want to inflate the inside of this thumb because it has a problem with the rigging, and I really need to get around to fixing that one of these days. Now, we shrink down the mouse until it's about the size, about a 12. So it's about the size of the fingers, and we're going to add on knuckles here, 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 and here, and then add the tendons on the back of the hand. Actually, that's way too strong. We need this at 11 because that was just getting a bit too strong. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Ralph. Just ran right across the computer. Why don't you? And we smooth out the ends and very lightly start to smooth them down further. Then, let's hide the base because it'd be hard to get. We look at the fingers and we see we need the first knuckle here and the second knuckle here. And then, as usual, just kind of make the ring the same length as the index. Middle a little bit longer and the pinky a little bit shorter. Then we just draw on one or two passes across each phalange. That's your finger bones. Because he's a hard worker. He's probably got kind of, you know, gnarly hands, bony hands. And then just a pass from here. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inflate there just to make sure we have a hand to work with. Okay. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I forgot that it moves the position of rotation when you mark it. Okay. And we don't need to do anything else there. You just need to kind of mark it here, 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 and here, because that rest of the hand will never be seen. All we need to do now is just add on the basic knuckles. Frame out. Frame out. And we have ourselves a basic pirate. Whee! And because of his style, you could also use him as a road warrior type dude. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and merge everything down. Is there anything you can think of that you might want? Anything additional? I can tell you one thing I do need to do now looking at it is I need to reduce the size of these threads. So I'm just going to hit them up with a little bit of smoothing. They were just a wee bit too big. Okay, there we go. That's perfect. Alright, so we merge down until we're done. And we've got everything in one solid mass. And we frame out. Here we have it. This is our buddy. Complete with a little skull on the handguard. We now go to geometry and we hit Dynamesh. And, you know, as usual, it goes from 1.528 million to 1.5. And we're going up down to where the feet are. We're going to shrink the mouse down and we're going to very gently hit it with the smooth tool to get rid of some of that faceting on the toes, which we got. And as I said, it looks a lot more like toes than it did when I first started on them. Frame out. Yeah. Now, at 1.481 million triangles and 1.5 million polygons, that's a bit too many polygons to print. So we open the Z plugin, click there, and we go to Decimation Master. We're only going to go for 35k polys because except for the buttons, the rope, and a couple other things, it's not covered in things like scales or chainmail or black cats that want to get snuggles. No. No, little buddy. No, 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 no. Down you go. Go on. So, we're going to hit 35k. Now, what'll happen is after I get done with this, I need you to DM me your email address up in the Discord, and I will be emailing you a render, the OBJ file, and in the OBJ format and in the STL format. I know that the Photon doesn't like OBJ. It only likes STL. Or at least the slicer doesn't like OBJ. And we got 70,181 polys for our little pirate. And because I suggest this to people and it actually works, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to zoom out until he's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches on my screen. A little bit bigger than what he'll be when he's printed. And I can see that pretty much everything I did is visible to an extent at this size, which means on the Anycubic Photon at least, no, Ralph, no, go. On the Anycubic Photon at least, it'll all come out nicely. You might want to go to about there for, no, not there, but about there for FDM. Wee, that's tiny. So now I go up here and I'm going to export, and it's going to be in Patreon Minis, new Piratey Sailor Fig. Did y'all happen to see that? Yeah. Whoops. There we go. And hello, Max. Yes, I am here, and we just finished making a nice piratey guy. So, tonight there will be another Patreon sculpt. However, it will be at 8 instead of 6. The usual time is 6, but it's going to be at 8 this time. The reason is, this is, in fact, Veterans Day. And as such, there are various places having various specials. And I got my nice little Veterans Identification card here from the VA. And some friends want to take me out to go get dinner. Most of us being veterans. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go out and go get food. Now, if you are also a veteran, I would like to make a note. Oh, and now we got Carlton. I would like to make a note. If you go and get free food tonight, please remember, tip your waitress based on what you would have paid if you had actually bought the food. Don't tip it based on the fact that you got your food for free, so your tip is for free. Well, thank y'all. Yeah. Alright. Put you back down. She's been quiet today, at least. Alright, now it is 2:25. We got about half an hour left. Is there anything that anyone wants to know about the sculpting aspect, the sculpting process, that isn't answered while I'm doing it? Yes, that's a finger. Gonna kitty kiss? There we go, kitty kisses. Any sculpting techniques that you're interested in learning? Any tricks or tips? No, she's a kitty. She's a 12-and-a-half-year-old kitty. Gosh. Her name is Shinju, which is Japanese for pearl, because when we first got her, you couldn't see the gray on her head or on her tail, or the patch on her haunch back here. So we thought she was pure white. Anyway, can y'all think of anything y'all want that might be difficult for you to sculpt? You want like some tips on, and like either, you know, on like Tuesday's show or that? That's what I do this for. This is not for me to become famous being a miniature sculptor or whatever. I'm not one of the Perry twins. I'm not exactly making a boatload of money doing this. I'm making enough to afford, you know, resin and supplies and a couple of other things, but yeah. I do this because I enjoy sculpting, and I like to see other people enjoying sculpting. And if everyone can have the miniatures they want for their purposes, beautiful. Yes, I am going to be starting up a Kickstarter. Yes, it is going to be in about a month and a half. And that's because, well, I do kind of need to catch up on some bills. I rarely, if ever, okay, Max, I rarely, if ever, put the supports in the mesh unless it's a situation where, well, case in point, the male ice trooper from Danny's Kickstarter, that one crystal, is preventing the need for a support for a lot of people. The toe still needs it, but the knee doesn't need it now because that crystal is helping it. It also makes it more stable while allowing me to have this dynamic pose. Yes, Kim. More specifically, Giants of Myth and Legend, with 5th edition D&D stats, adventure hooks, and more. TJ, there are so many ways to make alphas. They range from, like, case in point, I made some coins a while back for my Wednesday night game that the Game Master uses them to represent a inspiration point. And 5th edition, that's a mechanic where if you do something spectacular or funny, the Game Master can give you 1 point. And you can spend it for a re-roll or a bonus to a roll depending on your specific house rules. I took a render of a dragon holding an orb, and I used what's called a Z-depth render, where instead of actually rendering the image, it measures the distance from the camera point to that surface and shades it a shade of gray, where white is really close to the camera and black is the farthest point. That then turns it into a depth map. When you apply it as a, you pull it out in that direction, you're creating a duplicate as if someone had created, like, held a brain fart, vacuum formed it. Another way is to take a black and white picture and then play with the levels and paint on. There's so many different ways to make alphas. I don't know of a video right offhand, but I'm reasonably certain if you go to YouTube and in this search bar up here right above my fingers, if you type in how to make alpha for ZBrush or ZBrush alpha how to make, or whatever combo you want to use, you'll get some. There really isn't a video on Pixelogic's site for how to make alphas, only how to use them. By the way, the photon. Right now, I've got the photon running and printing orcs. Oh, yeah, he's making the orcs. To be exact, I've decided to make a small unit, an infantry unit. These guys. 5 of the orcs with the sword above their head, 4 of the orcs with the sword forward, and 1 of the spear orc. The spear sergeant, actually. And as you can see, he's a pirate. Yeah. I'm going to be printing them and painting them as a unit. And for those who haven't seen, there's a brief preview of an early work in progress of a certain giant of legend. To be exact, where is he? And there he is. Early Polyphemus. If you look carefully right here, you can see he only has 1 eye. But since this picture was made, I've done some more detail on the legs and the clothing. And I'm getting ready to add things like a ram skull on the back of his forearm, warts and cracked skin on the underside of his foot right there, and so on. Yep. He is based on, now the stats I'm using are 5th edition. In 5th edition, instead of starting at 10.5 feet for the hill giants start at 16 feet. The reason for this is with ogres 9 feet and hill giants 10.5. What's the real difference in size? You know? No, anyway, it's 2:30. I need to get ready to go by about 4:30 for food, because the earlier you get there, the less you have to worry about people waiting in line. And that'll give me time to go eat and then come back and get ready for tonight's late night broadcast, which, if I remember correctly, is a monk with scales, maybe? I don't know. We'll find out together, won't we? All right. And I am going to go ahead and do my usual holding up of the hand. And I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. And when I get to the 1, well, we all know what's going to happen, don't we? Yes, it's going to happen. When I get to that 1, I am going to say goodnight until this evening. And when we get back together this evening, we will be doing the work of the sculptor. So, I'll also be telling you tonight about how I got T-boned when driving home from my game night yesterday. Yay. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.